Hey YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. You know, last few months, I haven't, well, last, I don't know how, it's been a while. I've been meaning to make certain videos I haven't made yet. I understand. I do apologize. When I get to those, I'll get to those. Life is kind of weird sometimes, but okay. Okay. I think it's important to mention this at the outset. YouTube, one of the best things about YouTube is people expressing their real feelings and thoughts about things. In addition to the entertainment factor, people want to be entertained, but people really should be more about sometimes are things that are more real for them, sincere thoughts. Even developing even relationships online via YouTube if that's even possible. But the main topic I have for this video is going to be how I view the different states in the United States from the perspective of racism. And this is a little different, but I'm going to explain kind of how complex this whole subject is and why it's so subjective, and why people feel differently about different states and all this stuff. I'll get to all this bit by bit. But no, I think, just at the outset, it's important that we should use YouTube to develop stronger relationships with other people, especially from other countries. That's one of the best things about YouTube. And the more that we can do that, the better it is for everyone. And this also directly relates to racism, because if you're going to have people that are not racist and that are more common in the world, that can only happen via people being better people in general, like from a spiritual standpoint, more moral, more ethical, more godly, more righteous, more equitable, all that stuff, more fair-minded, all that stuff, more understanding, sensitive, etc. It's spiritual. It's also a question of sincerity online. It's really easy for people to be fake because we don't see their face. We can't read their facial expressions. So you guys know this. So, it's fine to be funny, but when you're talking about some things, you should be more serious. And when people want to understand other people better, they can do that. They can only do that when people are being themselves, their real selves, rather than someone else. And so when you guys are your real selves online, that's what I'm talking about. This is good. This is good. This is, keep being that way. If you want to be funny and put on a character, that's just fine too. But, people should understand that you're doing that at some point, or that it's intended for humor's sake. Some people don't find that kind of thing as funny anyway. But anyway, I guess you could talk about Hollywood and acting at that point. And acting is, whatever. But anyway, so getting back to our main subject here, the 50 states. Now, you guys think I was thinking about putting this in order, but it's really too hard to do so. So I'm going to go through every state, and I'll just talk about racism and all those things about race per state. But I'm not going to say 1 through 50 because it's just too hard. It's too hard. There's too many people that are moving from state to state all the time. There's too many variables. You'll see why. Let's start with let's start with the furthest state to the north, Alaska. A lot of people would say Alaska's racist because the white people and the American Indians have issues with each other. And there are a lot of American Indians, or we'll say Aleutians, or the people that were there before everyone else, right? Those folks, right? That you have a mix of Nadine tribes with Aleutian and Eskimo, Siberian tribes. I've heard about the stuff having to do with suicide and with rape and all this stuff that is really bad and ugly in Alaska. This ties in with racism, I suppose, because, as you could probably suspect, well, the other major ethnic group in Alaska is Caucasian, white people. Along with, I'm sure you have a few others, but in very much smaller numbers, I'm sure. But I haven't lived in Alaska. I can only say so much. But Alaska is very conservative, and it's very rustic, more than basically any other state. And it's wide open, and you can get lost, and it's very cold. Some people say Alaska's racist again because the white people there and American Indians don't always get along well. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I would imagine my hope is that sometimes that they get along better than they don't get along. But a lot of people would look at a state that's very white and say, well, they're just racist because they're just really white. And that's a very mistaken idea. Or a state's very conservative, so it's racist. No, that's mistaken as well. It's not that way at all. If you're white and conservative, you can often be a very good person who's not racist, but you'll be labeled a racist because it's just one of the main groups that's singled out for that reason, and because history has taught us that there are some things that white people tend to not tolerate very well. And some people look at that and see that as racist. In Alaska, in cold areas of the world, the sorts of people that tend to live there a little bit more often are primarily Siberian, Eskimo type folks, but also white, Northern European, of course. Whether they're Slavic, Scandinavian, or Germanic, or Celts, the Scottish Highlanders. But, you also have some Asian, because the Asians are related to, Siberians and stuff, so, and you can get the Turkish folks, and the, Finns, and the Uyghur, I don't know, Huns and stuff, so Kazakhs, What I'm trying to say is, if you live in an area that's cold and northerly, that sort of thing, you're going to be probably more likely one of those groups of people I just mentioned, and that's okay. White people tend to notice when they're living around a lot of people that are not white. What that feeling can be over time can be just fine, all the way to not good. We tend to, I think the collective, all of humanity, tends to see this aversion to other races more often we notice the negative things. We don't notice the positive things. We don't notice, there's a lot of things that we skip over about viewing white folks, whether you're white or not. There's countless, I don't know, places in the world, times in the world, where white people have lived, with or near other races, and it was just fine. Or not so good. And a lot of times it was not, if there were any difficulties, it wasn't really due to race. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But again, a lot of people are very fearful about this kind of thing. By the way, this video might be in a few different segments. My phone's doing this funny thing about, I don't know. So anyway, Alaska, is it racist or not? Or how racist is it? You always ask an Alaskan, but I'm inclined to believe that it's probably not too bad. It's probably okay. Let's go into Hawaii for a second. Now, if a lot of people have reservations about Alaska because it's conservative and whatever else, it's cold and, Hawaii's got to be not racist, right? It's got to be the opposite. And Polynesians are famously not racist. I'm inclined to believe that. A lot of people would disagree with that, I know. But let's make this one short and say Hawaii, not racist. It's probably one of the least racist states in the United States. So, Hawaii, thumbs up. Alaska, sure, so-so, maybe. But again, you're just not going to have a whole lot of African Americans up there because African Americans tend to not live in Point Barrow. Okay, so it's just the way it is. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. Let's go to Washington. Now, there's Western Washington and Eastern Washington, and this is the state I know the best. Eastern Washington is often seen as being racist because they're what? White, right? Plus some Mexican and American Indian. Western Washington's everybody. It's East Indian. It's famously Asian. It's black, and it's definitely very white in places, especially in the rural areas. So is Washington racist? No. I know Eastern Washingtonians, and most of them are not racist. I'm going to mention what I said before about Alaska. And it's going to be one of those things. You're going to keep seeing the same trend over and over again in western states, northern states, or wherever else there are a lot of people that are white. Even if you have a state that's very, very white, it doesn't mean it's racist. Because it just depends on how the people just are. Okay? When it comes to Washingtonians, they're not racist. Right? Oregon, actually, some people say, oh, there's more white people, higher percentage of white people in Oregon. I'm going to say Oregon's the same deal as Washington. Same east-west thing. Just Washington, we tend to have a little bit more black people in certain places. That's about it. California. Well, you can say anything you want to about California. It's going to be true because there's so many things in California, so many people in California. So, a lot of people would say California is racist. It doesn't really matter what the person's race is, you're going to find something wrong with California. Because of how big it is, how many people there are. Is California racist? Some people would just rail on me if I said it wasn't. But there's so many good people in California. It really is what you make of it. It's like it depends on where you live. And really, it is. So it might be a little bit less than the middle area, but there's still a lot of good people in California. So middle, big ground, maybe a little bit racist. Sure. We don't need to explain why. We know why. And it doesn't have always anything to do with necessarily black people. It's that other big group of people that, that we love, that I love, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. No, not Asians. I can talk about those guys too. Okay, Idaho. Some people, when you hear the word Idaho, it sends shivers down your spine, I imagine. Idaho is not Nazi Germany, okay? It's not KKK. Yes, I know the white Aryan nations were out from Idaho. I understand that very well. Hayden Lake. They're not there anymore. They're kicked out. Idaho's still very white. If you're black, are you going to get lynched? No. Idaho's very Christian. It's very Mormon. These sorts of people don't lynch black people. And they don't make black people's lives miserable. Not at all. The Idahoans are not like that at all. But Idaho's very white, so if that makes you uncomfortable, okay, I understand. So Idaho racist, again, is a common trend. If you think white people are, no, I don't think Idaho is racist. Again, probably not the least racist of states. Utah. The first thing you think of when you think of Utah, Mormon, LDS, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Which race is most predominant in the United States? I don't even need to go over this stuff. Obviously, it's white people. But obviously, if you know more about my church, you know that there's a lot of people that are Hispanic as well as other races that want, Polynesian and black, everybody. Just that people are very slow to change their minds about religion and whatever. So is Utah racist? In addition to that, again, train of thought with white people. People have additional ideas about Mormons that are often not true. So, I'm going to say, no. Utah is not racist unless you get out into the boonies with some country bumpkins, and country bumpkins tend to be more racist than urbanites. Not always, but that's the case. And that's just the way it is. Going on to Arizona. So, I don't think Utah's racist, unless you're talking about I don't know, some, again, boondock area. Anyway, Arizona, just like Idaho and Utah, very similar. Is Arizona racist? About the same, really. Maybe a little bit more, depending on, I don't know. But you also have a more American Indian, the Navajo, up there, and that's going to be another situation where it's just, I don't know. Race is a very kind of like black folks. American Indians are a little bit more conscious of this sort of topic sometimes, but I don't think for many folks that are Navajo and Apache and whatever else, I don't think it's something that they want to think about, so they just don't think about it. Sometimes, I think there's a lot of things to think about. They just, it's an uncomfortable subject, so they just don't want to think about it. And it's probably a good thing, depending on your train of thought. But, I don't know. So, going on. Montana. Is Montana racist? No. And you could say yes, because, yeah, I'm not going to keep repeating what I've said before. You know what I'm about to say, right? Again, white and American Indian. They're fine. Montanans are fine. Wyoming, yes, they're country bumpkin cowboy folks. But yes, they're also kind of wealthy. I think the big multimillionaire rancher is, well, I don't know. Wyoming is kind of middle of the road, I suppose, but I bet you that Wyoming is much, much, much less racist than many other states. So I think Wyoming's okay overall. Colorado, definitely not racist. We had some of the best conservatives and best liberals in that state. So, I mean, if any state is not racist, it's definitely, then you have South Park, and I say, oh, yeah, I know. But no, Colorado's fine. Nobody's getting lynched, nothing like that at all. New Mexico has everybody, a lot of racists and a lot of American Indians. So there's all that going on. But I still don't think New Mexico folks are racist. You do get some funny folks that, are white, have some funny ideas from time to time, but no, they're not racist. North Dakota. No, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, do I have to mention again? If you're white, you're racist. No, North Dakotans are probably just, as far as I mean, I just, don't know as much about North Dakota, but I'm sure we're talking about a area you're going to be okay. South Dakota, similar. Nebraska, you're talking about some country boys. Okay, there's going to be, Nebraska is very white. It says over and over and over again. No, it doesn't mean that Nebraskans are racist. So, Kansas, I've heard some bad things about the Midwest. I'm still thinking middle of the road at worst, not some of the worst states as far as racism. Oklahoma, Republican, okay, whatever. I don't want to put down Oklahomans, folks. If you can, nobody can prove to me though that Oklahomans are more racist than I think they are, because that's just, again, we're talking about perception of people. They're just conservative. Texas, if anything, but it depends on where you are in Texas. Just like California, it's a huge state. Texas probably gets a little bit more heat for being racist in places, but Texans are going to stand up for their state, and I think they should. So I'm going to keep this video just the Western United States. I mentioned more just the West. I'm going to have the other video, it's correlating to this video, just about the East. Okay. I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.